juice of the vine. With
Time to press ahead.
Brew, we sip and sway. Let's tip the tankard and waste today. No fortune found, no faith divine. We're close to top.
How you doing, pal? Looking for some odds and ends? I'll skip these doors.
Sip and sway. Let's tip the tankard and waste today. With brambling mates, I'm ne'er alone, filled with swill to unchill the bones. Brothers in arms and cask at hand, least we wake in the hinterland. Re-roll well ye can, our toes can wait for a time. We saw the folly of men, rather than revel repine. Not fortune found, nor faith divine, come close to topping the juice of the vine. With cherry crew, we sip and sway. Let's tip the tankard and waste today. Not fortune found, nor faith divine, come close to topping the juice of the vine. With cherry crew, we sip and sway. Let's tip the tankard and waste today.
The waning moon.
I am not people. Though many would question how wise it is to approach a stranger in the dark. A fair point. The murdered lie silent. They died because of her. Through it, I can summon her spirit and force her to face trial for her crimes.
Your mind swoons with possibilities.
No. I seek only justice. I offer you a chance to avenge this murderer's victims.
The death of heroism is close, I see. Go to the distillery.
Seems like a good moment to talk.
The air stirs intrepid, and you will be the judge. Make her beg. Make her suffer. Careful. For a serpent in life. Witness.
You. He said I was gonna be punished. That you'd be the judge. But I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You're not. But he said I deserved it. That I'm evil. I said it didn't mean nothing. That Ben and Mark were just drunk and whining. The Dark Justicia promised she was gonna chat with him. She promised. The Dark Justicia said to report everything, big or small. She ain't the type you say no to. She gave him a dagger each and told him to press it against their stomachs on the count of 3 to start stabbing and not stop till she said so. She never said stop. I'd do anything to take it back. Anything. You're right. I'm a killer. A monster. I should have died instead.
Glorious. Look. My hand still shakes. You broke her most thoroughly. Well done. Perhaps. But we both got what we wanted, didn't we? You have done well. Her pain and anguish were sublime. I will treasure it. Here. For your services. Should I find another murderer in need of torment, I shall call upon you. Farewell. spirits have seen everything.
need to find a way forward. Can't risk being in open view. open up.
She was no fun. All I wanted was to play.
This calls for careful footwork. Can't slow down.
She belongs to everyone. I'm not worthy. I never learned the words.
Yes.
The Absolute's war drums beat loud in your chest. How may I serve? Slaughter!
Have I been this way before? Don't want to draw any attention. On my way. Breathe deep, then move. Swift as my feet can carry me. Something good here, I hope.
God-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no.
A slender drow blade impales the stone before you, keeping a silent vigil.
Now she walks through her sunken dream to the streets with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen. But the film is a sad thing for.
It feels like you're warring with 10 people for the blade. And with another hard yank, the weapon slips free from the stone.
As they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those gay men go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the low man beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if you'll ever know who's in the best-selling show.
Perhaps a believe it's
Is their life on Mars?
Welcome back. Have you made any new discoveries? I do enjoy a good bargain. If anything in my private collection is to your liking.
It's on the merry cow's tortured brow that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow. Now the workers have struck for fame, 'cause Lennon's on sale again. See the mice in their million hordes, from Ibiza to the Norfolk Broads. Rule Britannia is out of bounds, to my mother, my dog and clowns. But the film is a sad thing for, 'cause I wrote it 10 times or more. It's about to be writ again, as I ask you to vote for some sailors fighting in the dance hall.
The Myconheads are trying to help, but I keep seeing my friends in Moonride.
It's the freakiest show. Take a look.
No need for me to ask how you fare. Some of my kin have already met.
It's past time we were back in the city. But if you find yourself there, call on us. Aye. No, you've made sure his work is done.
Very well.
What? You come across a noble stock mushroom about, you give it here. God, no, I've earned it. We've a shop in Boulder's Gate. The locals go mad for it.
That's a friendly-looking shadow. Light on my feet. Time to skulk about. Wonder if the gods are watching me. Don't waste a step.
prey. What do I have to lose?
I feel your breath upon my neck, a soft caress as cold as death. Cold as death. I didn't know you back well then, a baby rock and babe. Diminutive. I wanted in, darling, get me drunk and make me feel. It's not my fault, I'm not to blame. These ain't my sins, I broke my chains. There's more to do and I still want to live.
I feel your breath upon my neck, a soft caress as cold as death. Cold as I feel your heart beat in my soul, our futures bound, our bodies your blood like wine, I wanted it. Oh, darling, get me drunk and wipe me. It's not my fault, I'm not to blame. These ain't my sins, I broke my chains. There's more to do if I can only leave. I feel your breath upon my neck, a soft caress as cold as death. I hear your heart beat in my soul, our endings bound, our bodies know. I can't go yet,
Don't let me die.
I want to leave.
My only one.
There's more to do if we can only leave. The clock won't stop and this is what we get.
Wait, you're not Illy. The blacksmith? So, you're Shovel's master now. Master Illy calls me Shovel, so what first, master? Wait, are you horny? For the book, Illy never shuts up. Illy we...
How long until we can go on? Idaho asked. Moneo waved him to silence and addressed Leto. Lord, we have had a message from On. The Bene Gesserit sent word that the Tleilaxu will attack before you reach the bridge. Idaho snorted. Aren't they a little late? It is not their fault, Moneo said. The captain of the Fish Speaker Guard would not believe them. Other members of Leto's entourage began trickling onto the viewpoint level. Some of them appeared drugged, still in shock. The Fish Speakers moved briskly among them, commanding a show of good spirits. Remove the guard from the Bene Gesserit embassy, Leto said. Send them a message. Tell them that their audience will still be the last one, but they are not to fear this. Tell them that the last will be first. They will know the illusion. What about the Tleilaxu? Idaho asked. Leto kept his attention on Moneo. Yes, the Tleilaxu. We will send them a signal. Yes, Lord? When I order it, and not until then, you will have the Tleilaxu ambassador publicly flogged and expelled. Lord! You disagree? If we are to keep this secret, Moneo glanced over his shoulder, how will you explain the flogging? We will not explain. We will give no reason at all? No reason. But Lord, the rumors and the stories that will... I am reacting, Moneo. Let them sense the underground part of me which does things without my knowing, because it has not the wherewithal of knowing. This will cause great fear, Lord. A gruff burst of laughter escaped Idaho. He stepped between Moneo and the cart. He does a kindness to this ambassador. There have been rulers who would have killed the fool over a slow fire. Moneo tried to speak to Leto around Idaho's shoulder. But, Lord, this action will confirm for the Tleilaxu that you were attacked. They already know that, Leto said. But they will not talk about it. And when none of the attackers return, Idaho said. Do you understand, Moneo? Leto asked. When we march into On, apparently unscathed, the Tleilaxu will believe they have suffered utter failure. Moneo glanced around at the Fish Speakers and courtiers, listening spellbound to this conversation. Seldom had any of them heard such a revealing exchange between the God Emperor and his most immediate aides. When will my lord signal punishment of the ambassador? Moneo asked. During the audience. Leto heard thopters coming, saw the glint of sunlight on their wings and rotors, and, when he focused intently, made out the fresh canopy for his cart slung beneath one of them. Have this damaged canopy returned to the citadel and restored, Leto said, still peering at the approaching thopters. If questions are asked, tell the artisans to say that it's just routine. Another canopy scratched by blown sand. Moneo sighed.
Yes, Lord. It will be done as you say.
Come, Moneo, cheer up, Leto said. Walk beside me as we continue. Turning to Idaho, Leto said, take some of the guards and scout ahead.
Do you think there'll be another attack?
Idaho asked. No, but it'll give the guards something to do. And get a fresh uniform. I don't want you wearing something that has been contaminated by the dirty Tleilaxu. Idaho moved off in obedience.
What do I have to
Leto signaled Moneo to come closer. Closer. When Moneo was bending into the car, a face less than a meter from Leto's, Leto pitched his voice low and said, there is a special lesson here for you, Moneo.
Lord, I know I should have suspected the face...
No, not the face dancers. It is a lesson for your daughter.
Siona? What could she...
Tell her this. In a fragile way, she is like that force within me which acts without knowing. Because of her, I remember what it was to be human and to love. Moneo stared at Leto without comprehension. Simply give her the message, Leto said. You needn't try to understand it. Merely tell her my words. Moneo withdrew.
As my lord commands.
Leto closed the bubble canopy, making a single unit of the entire cover for the approaching crews on the Thopters to replace. Moneo turned and glanced around at the people waiting on the flat area of the viewpoint. He noted then a thing he had not observed earlier, a thing revealed by the disarray which some of the people had not yet repaired. Some of the courtiers had fitted themselves with delicate devices to assist their hearing. They had been eavesdropping, and such devices could only come from Ix.
I will warn the Duncan and the guard,
Moneo thought. Somehow he thought of this discovery as a symptom of rot. How could they prohibit such things when most of the courtiers and the fish speakers either knew or suspected that the God Emperor traded with Ix for forbidden machines?
I am beginning to hate water. The sand trout's skin which impels my metamorphosis has learned the sensitivities of the worm. Moneo and many of my guards know my aversion. Only Moneo suspects the truth, that this marks an important waypoint. I can feel my ending in it. Not soon as Moneo measures time, but soon enough as I endure it. Sand trouts swarmed to water in the dune days, a problem during the early stages of our symbiosis. The enforcement of my willpower controlled the urge then, and until we reached a time of balance. Now I must avoid water because there are no other sand trout, only the half-dormant creatures of my skin. Without sand trout to bring this world back to desert, Shai-Hulud will not emerge. The sandworm cannot evolve until the land is parched. I am their only hope. The Stolen Journals.
It was mid-afternoon before the royal entourage came down the final slope into the precincts of the festival city. Throngs lined the streets to greet them, held back by tight lines of ursine fish speakers in uniforms of Atreides green, their stun clubs crossed and linked. As the royal party approached, a bedlam of shouts erupted from the crowd. Then the fish speaker guardians began to chant, Sihanouk, Sihanouk, Sihanouk. As it echoed back and forth between the high buildings, the chanted word had a strange effect on the crowd which was not initiated into the meanings of it. A wave of silence swept up the thronged avenues while the guardians continued to chant. People stared in awe at the women armed with stun clubs who guarded the royal passage, the women who chanted while they fixed their gaze on the face of their passing lord. Idaho, marching with the fish speaker guards behind the royal cart, heard the chant for the first time and felt the hair on the back of his neck rise. Moneo marched beside the cart, not looking left or right. He had once asked Leto the meaning of the word. I give the fish speakers only one ritual, Leto had said. They had been in the God Emperor's audience chamber beneath On's central plaza at the time, with Moneo fatigued after a long day of directing the flow of dignitaries who crowded the city for decennial festivities.
What has the chanting of that word to do with it, Lord?
The ritual is called Sihanouk, the Feast of Leto. It is the adoration of my person in my presence.
An ancient ritual, Lord?
It was with the Fremen before they were Fremen. But the keys to the festival secrets died with the old ones. Only I remember them now. I recreate the festival in my own likeness and for my own ends.
Then the Museum Fremen do not use this ritual?
Never. It is mine and mine alone. I claim eternal right to it because I am that ritual.
It is a strange word, Lord. I have never heard its like.
It has many meanings, Moneo. If I tell them to you, will you hold them secret?
My lord commands.
Never share this with another, nor reveal to the fish speakers what I tell you now.
I swear it, Lord.
Very well. Sihanouk means giving honor to one who speaks with sincerity. It signifies the remembrance of things which are spoken with sincerity.
But, Lord, doesn't sincerity really mean that the speaker believes, has faith in what is said?
Yes, but Sihanouk also contains the idea of light as that which reveals reality. You continue to shine light on what you see.
Reality? That is a very ambiguous word, Lord.
Indeed, but Sihanouk also stands for fermentation because reality, or the belief that you know a reality, which is the same thing, always sets up a ferment in the universe.
All of that in a single word, Lord?
And more. Sihanouk also contains the summoning to prayer, and the name of the recording angel, Sihaya, who interrogates the newly dead.
A great burden for one word, Lord.
Words can carry any burden we wish. All that's required is agreement and a tradition upon which to build.
Why must I not speak of this to the fish speakers, Lord?
Because this is a word reserved for them. They resent my sharing it with a male. Moneo's lips pressed into a thin line of remembrance as he marched beside the royal cart into the festival city. He had heard the fish speakers chant the God Emperor into their presence many times since that first explanation, and had even added his own meanings to the strange word.
It means mystery and prestige. It means power. It invokes a license to act in the name of God.
Sihanouk, Sihanouk, Sihanouk. The word had a sour sound in Moneo's ears. They were well into the city, almost to the central plaza. Afternoon sunlight came down the royal road behind the procession to illuminate the way. It gave brilliance to the citizenry's colourful costumes. It shone on the upturned faces of the fish speakers lining the way. Marching beside the cart with the guards, Idaho put down a first alarm as the chant continued. He asked one of the fish speakers beside him about it.
It is not a word for men, she said, but sometimes the Lord shares Sihanouk with a Duncan.
A Duncan. He had asked Leto about it earlier, and disliked the mysterious evasions.
You will learn about it soon enough.
Idaho relegated the chant to the background while he looked around him with a tourist's curiosity. In preparation for his duties as guard commander, Idaho had inquired after the history of On, finding that he shared Leto's wry amusement in the fact that it was the Idaho River flowing nearby. They had been in one of the large open rooms of the citadel at the time, an airy place full of morning light and with wide tables upon which fish-speaker archivists had spread charts of the Sarir and of On. Leto had wheeled his cart onto a ramp which allowed him to look down on the charts. Idaho stood across a chart-littered table from him, studying the plan of the festival city.
Peculiar design for a city,
Idaho mused. It has one primary purpose: public viewing of the God Emperor. Idaho looked up at the segmented body on the cart, brought his gaze to the cowled face. He wondered if he would ever find it easy to look on that bizarre figure.
But that's only once every 10 years,
Idaho said. At the Great Sharing, yes.
And you just close it down between times?
The embassies are there, the offices of the trading factors, the fish speaker schools, The service and maintenance cadres, the museums and libraries. What space do they take? Idaho rapped the chart with his knuckles. 1/10 of the city at most. Less than that. Idaho let his gaze wander pensively over the chart. Are there other purposes in this design, my lord? It is dominated by the need for public viewing of my person. There must be clerks, government workers, even common labourers. Where do they live? Mostly in the suburbs. Idaho pointed at the chart. These tiers of apartments? Note the balconies, Duncan. All around the plaza. He leaned close to peer down at the chart. That plaza is 2 kilometres across. Note how the balconies are set back in steps, right up to the ring of spires. The elite are lodged in the spires. And they can all look down on you in the plaza. You do not like that? There's not even an energy barrier to protect you. What an inviting target I make. Why do you do it? There is a delightful myth about the design of On. I foster and promote the myth. It is said that once there lived a people whose ruler was required to walk among them once a year in total darkness, without weapons or armor. The mythical ruler wore a luminescent suit while he made his walk through the night-shrouded throng of his subjects. And his subjects, they wore black for the occasion and were never searched for weapons. What's that have to do with On
Have you made
and
any
you?
new discoveries?
Well, obviously.
It's curious
If the
to
ruler
find a
survived his
Githyanki
walk,
here.
he was a good ruler.
Truly remarkable.
You don't search for weapons? Not openly. You think people see you in this myth? It was not a question. Many do. Idaho stared up at Leto's face, deep in its grey cowl. The blue-on-blue eyes stared back at him without expression. Melange eyes, Idaho thought. But Leto said he no longer consumed any spice. His body supplied what spice his addiction demanded. You don't like my holy obscenity, my enforced tranquility, Leto said. I don't like you playing God, but a god can conduct the Empire as a musical conductor guides a symphony through its movements. My performance is limited only by my restriction to Arrakis. I must direct the symphony from here.
I imagine Lenore
Idaho shook his head and looked once more at the city plan. What are these apartments behind the spires? Lesser accommodations for our visitors. They can't see the plaza, but they can. Ixian devices project my image into those rooms. And the inner ring looks directly down on you. How do you enter the plaza? A presentation stage rises from the center to display me to my people. Do they cheer? Idaho looked directly into Leto's eyes. They are permitted to cheer. You Atreides always did see yourselves as part of history. How astute of you to understand a cheer's meaning. Idaho returned his attention to the city map. And the fish speaker schools are here? Under your left hand, yes. That's the academy where Siona was sent to be educated. She was 10 at the time. Siona. I must learn more about her, Idaho mused. I assure you that nothing will get in the way of your desire. As he marched along in the royal peregrination, Idaho was lifted from his reverie by awareness that the fish speaker chant was diminishing. Ahead of him, the royal cart had begun its descent into the chambers beneath the plaza, rolling down a long ramp. Idaho, still in sunlight, looked up and around at the glistening spires, this reality for which the charts had not prepared him. People crowded the balconies of the great tiered ring around the plaza, silent people who stared down at the procession. No cheering from the privileged, Idaho thought. The silence of the people on the balconies filled Idaho with foreboding. He entered the ramp tunnel and its lip hid the plaza. The fish speaker chant faded away as he descended into the depths. The sound of marching feet all around him was curiously amplified. Curiosity replaced the sense of oppressive foreboding. Idaho stared around him. The flat-floored tube was artificially illuminated and wide. Very wide. Idaho estimated that 70 people could march abreast into the bowels of the plaza. There were no mobs of greeters here, only a widely spaced line of fish speakers who did not chant, contenting themselves to stare at the passage of their god. Memory of the charts told Idaho the layout of this gigantic complex beneath the plaza. A private city within the city, a place where only the God Emperor, the courtiers and the fish speakers could go without escort. But the charts had told nothing of the thick pillars, the sense of massive guarded spaces, the eerie quiet broken by the tramping of feet and the creaking of Leto's cart. Idaho looked suddenly at the fish speakers lining the way and realized that their mouths were moving in unison, a silent word on their lips. He recognized the word. Sihanouk.
Another festival so soon, the Lord Leto asked. It has been 10 years, the Major Domo said. Do you think by this exchange that the Lord Leto betrays an ignorance of
Answer
time's
honestly and
passage?
maybe we'll kill you clean.
The oral history.
During the private audience period preceding the festival proper, many commented that the God Emperor spent more than the allotted time with the new Ixian ambassador, the young woman named Hui Nori. She was brought down at mid-morning by 2 fish speakers who were still full of first-day excitement. The private audience chamber beneath the plaza was brilliantly illuminated. The light revealed a room about 50 meters long by 35 wide. Antique Fremen rugs decorated the walls, their bright patterns worked in jewels and precious metals, all combined in weavings of priceless spice fibers. The dull reds, of which the old Fremen had been so fond, predominated. The chamber's floor was mostly transparent, a setting for exotic fishes worked in radiant crystal. Beneath the floor flowed a stream of clear blue water, all of its moisture sealed away from the audience chamber, but excitingly near Leto, who rested on a padded elevation at the end of the room opposite the door. His first view of Hui Nori revealed a remarkable likeness to her uncle Malki. But her grave movements and the calmness of her stride were equally remarkable in their difference from Malki. She did have that dark skin, though, the oval face with its regular features, placid brown eyes.
Interested in a job? Cleaning up? Then someone... The Flaming Fist will want someone to blame, and I don't plan to leave anything pointing our way. Some of our people are missing. Find them. Keep them alive if you can. Failing that, just bring that shipment back. Unopened. God damn it! What about the shipment? Good. You've already brought me bad news. Tell me you've got something better this time.
Carry all this? Wonder if the fish paper... Did your fella throw me something? You got a coin? Yeah, alright, fine. But who are you? His muse.
Don't pretend you know what that means. What kind of drawing you want?
Birds.
Like, any kind of birds, or...
Pretty ones. With colours and stuff.
Stupid thing to do, sober.
There's no need for this. Free me now, and I'll see that my patron rewards you. I need only tell her it's a gambling debt. It's happened before.
stared back at Leto, and where Malky's hair had been grey, hers was a luminous brown. Hui Nori radiated an inner peace which Leto sensed, spreading its influence around her as she approached. She stopped 10 paces away, below him. There was a classical balance about her, something not accidental. With growing excitement, Leto realized a betrayal of Ixian machinations in the new ambassador. They were well along in their own program to breed selected types for specific functions. Hui Nori's function was distressingly obvious: to charm the God Emperor, to find a chink in his armor. Despite this, as the meeting progressed, Leto found himself truly enjoying her company. Hui Nori stood in a puddle of daylight which was guided into the chamber by a system of Ixian prisms. The light filled Leto's end of the chamber with glowing gold, which centered on the ambassador, dimming behind the God Emperor, where stood a short line of fish-speaker guards, 12 women chosen for their inability to hear or speak. Hui Nori wore a simple gown of purple ambiel, decorated only by a silver necklace pendant stamped with the symbol of Ix.
What do I have to lose?
Soft sandals, the colour of her gown, peeked from beneath her hand. "Are you aware," Leto asked her, "that I killed one of your ancestors?" She smiled softly.
My uncle Malky included that information in my early training, Lord.
As she spoke, Leto realized that part of her education had been conducted by the Bene Gesserit. She had their way of controlling her responses, of sensing the undertones in a conversation. He could see, however, that the Bene Gesserit overlay had been a delicate thing, never penetrating the basic sweetness of her nature. "You were told that I would introduce this subject," he said.
Yes, Lord. I know that my ancestor had the temerity to bring a weapon here in the attempt to harm you.
As did your immediate predecessor. Were you told that as well?
I did not learn it until my arrival, Lord. They were fools. Why did you spare my predecessor?
When I did not spare your ancestor?
Yes, Lord.
Kobat, your predecessor, was more valuable to me as a messenger.
Then they told me the truth, she said.
Again she smiled.
One cannot always depend on hearing truth from one's associates and superiors.
The response was so utterly open that Leto could not suppress a chuckle. Even as he laughed, he realized that this young woman still possessed the mind of first awakening, the elemental mind which came in the first shock of birth awareness. She was alive. "Then you do not hold it against me that I killed your ancestor?" he asked.
He tried to assassinate you. I am told you crushed him, Lord, with your own body.
True.
And next, you turned his weapon against your own holy self to demonstrate that the weapon was ineffectual. And it was the best laser gun we Ixians could make.
The witnesses reported correctly, Leto said. And he thought, which shows how much you can depend on witnesses. As a matter of historical accuracy, he knew that he had turned the laser gun only against his ribbed body, not against hands, face, or flippers. The pre-worm body possessed a remarkable capacity for absorbing heat. The chemical factory within him converted heat to oxygen.
I never doubted the story,
he said. Why has Ix repeated this foolish gesture? Leto asked.
They have not told me, Lord. Perhaps Kobat took it onto himself to behave this way.
I think not. It has occurred to me that your people desired only the death of their chosen assassin.
The death of Kobat?
No, the death of the one they chose to use the weapon.
Who was that, Lord? I've not been told.
It's unimportant. Do you recall what I said at the time of your ancestors' foolishness?
You threatened terrible punishment should such violence ever again enter our thoughts.
She lowered her gaze, but not before Leto glimpsed a deep determination in her eyes. She would use the best of her abilities to blunt his wrath. I promised that none of you would escape my anger, Leto said. She jerked her attention up to his face.
Yes, Lord.
And now her manner revealed personal fear.
If you're all right,
none can escape me. Not even the futile colony you've recently planted at... And Leto reeled off for her
the standard chart coordinates of a new colony the Ixians had planted secretly far beyond what they thought were the reaches of his empire. She betrayed no surprise. "Lord, I think it was because I warned them you would know of this that I was chosen as ambassador." Leto studied her more carefully. "What have we here?" he wondered. Her observation had been subtle and penetrating. The Ixians, he knew, had thought distance and enormously magnified transportation costs would insulate the new colony. Hui Nori thought not, and had said so. But she believed her masters had chosen her as ambassador because of this, a comment on the Ixian caution. They thought they had a friend at court here, but one who also would be seen as Leto's friend. He nodded as the pattern took shape. Quite early in his ascendancy, he had revealed to the Ixians the exact location of the supposedly secret Ixian core, the heartland of the technological federation which they governed. It had been a secret the Ixians thought safe because they paid gigantic bribes for it to the Spacing Guild. Leto had winkled them out by prescient observation and deduction, and by consulting his memories, where there were more than a few Ixians. At the time, Leto had warned the Ixians that he would punish them if they acted against him. They had responded with consternation and accused the guild of betraying them. This had amused Leto, and he had responded with such a burst of laughter that the Ixians were abashed. He had then informed them in a cold and accusatory tone that he had no need of spies or traitors or other ordinary trappings of government. Did they not believe he was a god? For a time thereafter, the Ixians were responsive to his requests. Leto had not abused the relationship. His demands were modest, a machine for this, a device for that. He would state his needs, and presently the Ixians would deliver the required technological toy. Only once had they tried to deliver a violent instrument into one of his machines. He had slain the entire Ixian delegation before they could even unwrap the thing. Hui Nori waited patiently while Leto mused. Not the slightest sign of impatience surfaced. Beautiful, he thought. In view of his long association with the Ixians, this new stance sent the juices coursing through Leto's body. Ordinarily, the passions, crises, and necessities which had seduced and impelled him burned low. He often felt that he had outlived his times. But the presence of a Hui Nori said he was needed. This pleased him. Leto felt that it might even be possible that the Ixians had achieved a partial success with their machine to amplify the linear prescience of a guild navigator. A small blip in the flow of great events might have escaped him. Could they really make such a machine? What a marvel that would be. Purposefully, he refused to use his powers for even the smallest search through this possibility. I wish to be surprised. Leto smiled benignly at Hui. How have they prepared you to woo me? He asked. She did not blink. I was provided with a set of memorized responses for particular exigencies, she said. I learned them as I was required, but I do not intend to use them. Which is exactly what they want, Leto thought. Tell your masters, he said, that you are precisely the right kind of bait to dangle in front of me. She bowed her head. If it pleases my lord. Yes, you do. He indulged himself then in a small temporal probe to examine Hui's immediate future, tracing the threads of her
And
past.
this was funny when it was just goblins.
Hui
branded
appeared in a
arses,
fluid future, a current
mean
whose
business,
movements
eh?
were susceptible to many deflections. She
Ever
would know
at your
Siona
service.
in only a casual way, unless... Questions flowed through Leto's mind. A guild steersman was advising the Ixians, and he obviously had detected Siona's disturbance in the temporal fabric. Did the steersman really believe he could provide security against the God Emperor's detection? The temporal probe took several minutes, but Hui did not fidget. Leto looked at her carefully. She seemed timeless, outside of time in a deeply peaceful way. He had never before encountered a common mortal able to wait thus in front of him without some nervousness. Where were you born, Hui? He asked. On Ix itself, Lord. I mean specifically. The building, its location, your parents, the people around you, friends and family, your schooling. All of it. I never knew my parents, Lord. I was told they died while I was still an infant. Did you believe this?
At first, of course. Later, I built fantasies. I even imagined that Malky was my father. But
she shook her head. You did not like your Uncle Malky?
No,
An honor.
I didn't. Oh, I admired him.
My reaction precisely, Leto said. But what of your friends and your schooling?
My teachers were specialists. Even some Bene Gesserits were brought in to train me in emotional control and observation. Malky said I was being prepared for great things.
And your friends?
I don't think I ever had any real
Welcome
friends.
back, true
Only
soul.
people who were brought in contact with me for specific purposes in my education.
And these great things for which you were trained, did anyone ever speak of those?
Malky said I was being prepared to charm you, Lord.
How old are you, Hui?
I don't know my exact age. I guess I'm about 26. I've never celebrated a birthday. I only learned about birthdays by accident, one of my teachers giving an excuse for her absence.
Come back.
I never saw that teacher again.
Leto found himself fascinated by this response. His observations provided him with certainty that there had been no Tleilaxu interventions into her Ixian flesh. She had not come from a Tleilaxu axolotl tank. Why the secrecy, then? Does your Uncle Malky know your age?
Perhaps, but I haven't seen him for many years.
Didn't anyone ever tell you how old you were?
No.
Why do you suppose that is?
Maybe they thought I'd ask if I were interested.
Simple enough.
Were you interested?
Yes.
Then why didn't you ask?
I thought at first there might be a record somewhere. I looked. There was nothing. I reasoned then that they would not answer my question.
For what it tells me about you, Hui, that answer pleases me very much. I, too, am ignorant of your background, but I can make an enlightened guess at your birthplace.
Her eyes focused on his face with a charged intensity which had no pretense in it.
You were born within this machine your masters are trying to perfect for the guild, Leto said. You were conceived there as well. It may even be that Malky was your father. That is not important. Do you know about this machine, Hui?
I am not supposed to know about it, Lord. But
another indiscretion by one of your teachers?
By my uncle himself.
A burst of laughter erupted from Leto. What a rogue, he said. What a charming rogue.
Lord?
This is his revenge on your masters. He did not like being removed from my court. He told me at the time that his replacement was less than a fool.
Hui shrugged. A complex man, my uncle.
Listen to me carefully, Hui. Some of your associations here on Arrakis could be dangerous to you. I will protect you as I can. Do you understand?
I think so, Lord.
She stared up at him solemnly. Now, a message for your masters. It is clear to me that they have been listening to a guild steersman, and they have joined themselves to the Tleilaxu in a perilous fashion. Tell them, for me, that their purposes are quite transparent.
Lord, I have no knowledge of...
I am aware of how they use you, Hui. For this reason you may tell your masters also that you are to be the permanent ambassador to my court. I will not welcome another Ixian. And should your masters ignore my warnings, trying further interference with my wishes, I shall crush them.
Tears welled from her eyes and ran down her cheeks, but Leto was grateful that she did not indulge in any other display, such as falling to her knees. I already have warned them, she said. Truly I did. I told them they must obey you.
Leto could see that this was true. What a marvelous creature, this Hui Nori, he thought. She appeared the epitome of goodness, obviously bred and conditioned for this quality by her Ixian masters with their careful calculation of the effect this would have on the God Emperor. Out of his thronging ancestral memories, Leto could see her as an idealized nun, kindly and self-sacrificing, all sincerity. It was her most basic nature, the place where she lived. She found it easiest to be truthful and open, capable of shading this only to prevent pain for others. He saw this latter trait as the deepest change the Bene Gesserit had been able to effect in her. Hui's real manner remained outgoing, sensitive, and naturally sweet. Leto could find little sense of manipulation.